Hello, my good friends. How are you today? May God bless you all. I will not introduce anything, you guys. Watch the video and feel it, then let's evaluate together. The penthouse at the top of One Penn Plaza glittered like a damn chandelier factory. Crystal lights dripped from the ceiling, casting flecks of gold across the marble floors. The air smelled of money, expensive cologne, aged whiskey, and the faint tang of desperation. Logan Reed leaned against the bar, a glass of Macallan in his hand, his sharp green eyes scanning the room. At 32, he was the poster boy for Manhattan's elite dark brown hair, slicked back a bespoke Armani suit, hugging his broad shoulders, and a smirk that said he owned the world. Tonight, though, that smirk was tighter than usual. He was about to sign his life away in a bullshit marriage contract, and the woman he was stuck with, some party girl nobody named Zara Brooks. Logan sipped his whiskey, the burn doing little to ease the knot in his chest. His father, Henry Reed, had made it clear marry Zara or the Reed Corporation, his family's crumbling empire would go under. The deal was simple. Zara's family had cash. The Reeds had connections. A merger disguised as a marriage. Logan didn't give a shit about love, but he hated being played like a pawn. And Zara, from what he'd heard, she was a ditzy black chick who spent her days shopping and her nights clubbing. Easy to control. He'd have her signing the contract and smiling for the cameras before she even knew what hit her. Across the room, the glass doors slid open and Zara Brooks stepped in. Logan's smirk faltered. She wasn't what he'd pictured. No tacky mini dress or overdone makeup. Instead, she wore a crimson gown that clung to her curves like it was painted on the deep V-neck, drawing every eye in the room. Her dark curls cascaded over one shoulder, and her brown eyes sparkled with something dangerous. She moved with the grace of a panther, her heels clicking against the marble as she crossed the room. Logan straightened his grip, tightening on the glass. Okay, maybe she's not a total idiot, he thought. But she's still out of her league. Logan Reed. Zara said, her voice smooth as velvet, a faint smile playing on her lips. Ready to tie the knot. He snorted, setting his glass down. Let's wrap this bullshit up. You're just here to smile and sign, right, sweetheart? Zara's smile didn't waver, but her eyes narrowed sharp as a blade. Oh, Logan, you're in for one hell of a surprise. The room was packed with the usual suspects. Henry Reed, a silver-haired shark in a three-piece suit, his cold blue eyes fixed on Logan. Victor Zara's sleazy stepfather with a grin that made Logan want to punch something, and a handful of lawyers clutching briefcases like they were life rafts. The contract sat on a mahogany table, a stack of papers that would bind Logan and Zara for at least 3 years. Logan didn't bother reading it. His lawyers had assured him it was ironclad. Zara would get a fat allowance, the Reeds would get her family's cash, and Logan would keep running the show. Zara took a seat across from him, crossing her legs with deliberate slowness. She picked up a flute of champagne, her nails painted a deep red that matched her dress. Nice place, she said, glancing around. Bet it cost more than my mom's entire company. Logan raised an eyebrow. Cute. You gonna stall all night, or can we get this over with patience, rich boy? She said, sipping her champagne. I like to read the fine print. Henry cleared his throat, his voice booming. Miss Brooks, the terms are straightforward. You'll be well compensated for your cooperation. Zara's lips twitched, but she didn't respond. She reached for the contract, flipping through the pages with a focus that made Logan's stomach twist. What the hell is she doing? He glanced at his father, who looked equally annoyed. Victor, though, was watching Zara like a hawk, his fingers drumming on the table. Minutes passed, the room growing quieter with each page Zara turned. Logan shifted in his seat, his patience wearing thin. You need a dictionary or something, he snapped. It's a marriage contract, not a fucking novel. Zara looked up, her smile gone. You know, Logan, you talk a big game for someone who hasn't read a single word of this shit. The room froze. Henry's jaw tightened and Victor's drumming stopped. Logan leaned forward, his voice low and dangerous. "Excuse me." Zara set the contract down, her movements deliberate. "I said you're dumber than you look if you think I'd sign this crap without reading it." She turned to the head lawyer, a nervous guy with glasses too big for his face. "Page 17, Clause 3. Care to explain why it gives the Reeds unilateral control over my family's assets?" The lawyer blinked, fumbling with his notes. That's standard bullshit." Zara cut in her voice like a whip. "It's a trap. And Clause 9, the one that voids my inheritance if I misbehave. Real classy, Henry." She shot a glance at Logan's father, who was turning an alarming shade of red. Logan's heart pounded. He'd never seen anyone talk to his father like that. Hell, he'd never seen anyone talk to him like that. "What the fuck are you playing at?" he growled. Zara ignored him, pulling a pen from her clutch. She started marking up the contract, her handwriting precise and ruthless. "I'm rewriting this garbage. Clause 3 gone. Clause 9 out. And I'm adding a clause to ensure my mom's company stays untouchable." She slid the revised contract across the table, her eyes locked on Logan. "Sign it, or we're done." The room erupted. Henry slammed his fist on the table, shouting about insolence. Victor hissed something to his lawyer, who scrambled to respond. Logan just stared at Zara, his mind racing. Who the hell is this woman? She wasn't some airhead. She was a goddamn predator, and he'd walked right into her trap. But Zara wasn't done. She leaned back, crossing her arms, and dropped the bomb that made the room go silent. "Oh, and one more thing," she said, her voice dripping with venom. "I've got a little insurance policy. A file that proves Reed Corporation embezzled millions from my mom's company years ago. Sign my terms or I'm posting it on X tonight. Your choice." Logan's glass slipped from his hand, shattering on the floor. Henry choked on his words, his face ashen. Victor's eyes narrowed, but he didn't speak. The lawyers looked like they were about to piss themselves. Zara just sat there, sipping her champagne, her smile as cold as the New York winter. "You're fucking insane!" Logan spat, his voice hoarse. "You think you can threaten us?" Zara tilted her head, unfazed. "I don't threaten, Logan. I win." Before anyone could recover, the glass doors swung open again, and Claire Vanderholt strutted in. Logan's ex was a vision in white silk, her blonde hair cascading in perfect waves. She'd always had a knack for showing up at the worst possible moment. "Logan, darling," she purred, wrapping her arms around him before he could react. "You didn't tell me your fiancé was so spirited." Zara's eyes flicked to Claire, then back to Logan. "Wow, you move fast," she said, her tone mocking. "Or is she just here for the free booze?" Claire's smile tightened, but she didn't miss a beat. "Careful, sweetheart. You're playing in a league you don't belong in." Zara laughed, a sharp, dangerous sound. She picked up another glass of wine, twirling it in her hand. "Oh, I'm right where I belong." Then, with a flick of her wrist, she accidentally tipped the glass, splashing red wine across Claire's pristine dress. "Oops," Zara said, her voice dripping with fake innocence. "My bad. Red's not your color anyway." Claire shrieked, stumbling back as the room burst into gasps and stifled laughter. Logan couldn't help it. He snorted, earning a glare from Claire. "You little bitch," she hissed. But Zara just shrugged, already turning away. "Clean yourself up, Barbie," Zara said over her shoulder. "I've got a wedding to plan." As Claire stormed out, Logan caught sight of his sister Sophia, lurking near the bar. Her dark eyes glittered with malice, and she was whispering to Claire's retreating figure. Sophia had always hated being second to Logan, and now she had a new target, Zara. Great, Logan thought. Another fucking problem. The lawyers scrambled to revise the contract, Henry and Victor huddling in a corner, their voices low and furious. Logan stayed where he was, his eyes locked on Zara. She was dangerous, no question. But there was something else, something about the way she held herself, the fire in her eyes, that made his pulse race. He hated her. He wanted her. And that was a problem he didn't know how to solve. Zara caught his stare and raised her glass in a mock toast. "To our happy marriage," she said, her voice laced with sarcasm. "Go to hell," Logan muttered, but he couldn't look away. Later that night, Zara stood alone on the penthouse balcony, the Manhattan skyline sprawling before her like a sea of stars. The city hummed below a restless beast that never slept. She pulled out her phone and texted Marcus, her best friend since college. "Game on. They never saw it coming." "They never," Marcus replied instantly. "You burned their asses in front of everyone." "Damn, girl, you're savage." "What's next?" Zara smiled, her fingers hovering over the screen. "Round one's mine. Ready for round two?" She tucked her phone away, her gaze drifting to the horizon. Logan thought he was in control, but he was wrong. She'd spent months planning this, digging into the Reeds' dirty secrets, building her case. Her mother Eleanor had lost everything to those bastards, and Zara wasn't here to play nice. She was here to win whatever it took. Inside, Logan stormed out of the penthouse, his head spinning. Zara wasn't just a problem. She was a fucking hurricane. He hated how she'd humiliated him, hated how his father had folded under her threat. But most of all, he hated how she'd gotten under his skin. Her voice, her smile, the way she'd looked at him like he was nothing. It was driving him insane. He climbed into his Bentley, slamming the door. "She's gonna regret this," he muttered. But even as he said it, he wasn't sure who he was trying to convince. Holy crap, did Zara just flip the game like that? Want to see how she takes down Logan and his shady family? Smash that subscribe button and drop a comment. Tell me if you're Team Zara or think Logan's got a chance to redeem his sorry ass. Let's dive deeper into this drama. The ballroom at the Plaza Hotel was a goddamn circus of wealth. Chandeliers the size of small cars hung overhead, dripping crystals that caught the light like 1,000 tiny stars. Waiters in crisp tuxedos weaved through the crowd, balancing trays of caviar and overpriced champagne. The Upper East Side's elite were out in full force, billionaires, influencers, and old money snobs who'd rather die than miss a chance to flaunt their status. Tonight's gala was supposedly for some charity nobody actually cared about, but really it was a stage for power plays and gossip. And Logan Reed, as always, was expected to steal the show. He stood near the bar, a fresh whiskey in hand, his Armani suit still pristine, despite the chaos of the past week. That damn Zara Brooks had turned his world upside down at the penthouse, rewriting their marriage contract and dropping a bomb about his family's shady past. Logan still couldn't shake the image of her in that red dress, smirking like she owned him. He'd spent days replaying her words, "I don't threaten Logan. I win." And it pissed him off how much they got under his skin. She was trouble, no question, but he'd be damned if he let her make a fool of him again. The crowd parted, and there she was. Zara glided into the ballroom like she was walking the Met Gala red carpet, her sequined silver gown catching every light in the room. The dress hugged her curves, shimmering with every step, and her dark curls bounced loosely, framing her face. Logan's jaw tightened. She's doing this on purpose, he thought, his grip on the glass tightening. She knew every eye was on her, and she was loving it. Zara caught his stare and flashed a smile that was half challenge, half mockery. "Looking good, fiancé," she said, sauntering over, "though that scowl's not doing you any favors." Logan snorted, taking a sip of his whiskey. "You clean up nice, princess. Too bad you're still a pain in my ass." "Aw, you sweet talker," Zara shot back, grabbing a champagne flute from a passing waiter. "Keep it up and I might just blush." He rolled his eyes, but he couldn't ignore the heat creeping up his neck. She was infuriating, sharp-tongued, fearless, and way too good at getting a rise out of him. Their engagement was fake as hell, but the way she looked tonight made it hard to remember that. "Just play your part," he muttered. "Smile, wave, don't start any shit." Zara raised an eyebrow, her lips curling. "Oh, I'll be a perfect angel, unless someone pisses me off." Before Logan could respond, a familiar voice cut through the noise. "Logan, darling." Claire Vanderholt swept toward them, her white silk gown clinging to her like a second skin. Her blonde hair was swept up in a flawless chignon, and her blue eyes sparkled with calculated charm. Logan's ex had a knack for showing up when he least needed her, and tonight was no exception. Claire Logan said, his voice flat. "What the hell are you doing here?" She pouted, resting a manicured hand on his arm. "Don't be like that. I'm here for charity, same as you." Her gaze flicked to Zara, and her smile turned venomous. "And you must be the fiancé." "Zara, right? You're bolder than I expected." Zara's eyes narrowed, but her smile didn't waver. "And you're Claire, Logan's ex, huh?" "Gotta say I'm not impressed." The air crackled with tension. Logan shifted, ready to intervene, but Zara was already in control. She took a step closer to Claire, her voice low and dangerous. "Word of advice. Stay out of my way. I don't play nice with wannabe mean girls." Claire's laugh was sharp, like breaking glass. "Oh, honey, you're out of your depth. Logan's world isn't built for girls like you." "Girls like me," Zara tilted her head, her smile turning lethal. "You mean the ones who don't need a rich boyfriend to feel relevant?" A few nearby guests turned, sensing the drama. Logan cursed under his breath. "Enough," he snapped, grabbing Zara's arm. "We're not doing this here." Zara yanked her arm free, her eyes flashing. "Don't touch me, rich boy. I'm just getting started." Before things could escalate further, the music shifted to a slow, sultry beat. Claire seized the moment, looping her arm through Logan's. "Dance with me," she said, her voice syrupy. "For old time's sake." Logan hesitated, glancing at Zara. Her expression was unreadable, but the way her fingers tightened around her glass told him everything. Fuck it, he thought. If Zara wanted to play games, he'd play too. "Fine," he said, letting Claire pull him onto the dance floor. Zara watched them go, her jaw clenched. Claire pressed herself against Logan, her hands sliding up his chest as they swayed. The crowd ate it up, whispering about the love triangle unfolding before their eyes. Zara's blood boiled. She wasn't jealous, not exactly. This was a fake engagement after all. But the way Claire smirked at her like she'd already won made Zara want to wipe that smug look off her face. She scanned the room and spotted Marcus, her best friend, lurking near the press table. He was in a rented tux, his dreads tied back, a mischievous grin on his face, as he snapped photos for his freelance gig. Zara caught his eye and nodded toward the bar. Time for a little chaos. Marcus sidled up, handing her a cocktail. "Damn, girl, you look like you're about to start a war," he said, his voice low. "What's the plan?" Zara took the drink, her eyes locked on Claire and Logan. "That blonde bitch thinks she can humiliate me. She's about to learn a lesson." Marcus chuckled. "You're scary when you're pissed." "What's the move?" "Just follow my lead," Zara said, downing the cocktail in one gulp. She grabbed another glass from the bar, this one filled with bright pink punch, and made her way toward the dance floor. The crowd parted, sensing trouble. Logan and Claire were still dancing, Claire's laughter ringing out like she owned the place. Zara stopped a few feet away, twirling the glass in her hand. "Oops," she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. Then, with a flick of her wrist, she sent the punch flying, splattering Claire's white dress in a glorious pink mess. Claire screamed, stumbling back. "You fucking bitch!" She shrieked, her hands clawing at the stained silk. The crowd gasped, phones already out, recording every second. Logan froze, his eyes darting between Claire and Zara. Zara shrugged, her smile angelic. "My bad. Guess I'm clumsy tonight." She turned to the crowd, raising her empty glass. "To charity, right?" The room erupted in laughter. Marcus was quick on the draw, snapping a photo of Claire's meltdown and posting it to X with the caption, "When you fuck with the wrong queen." Gala goals. Within minutes, the post was blowing up, retweets and comments flooding in. Zara Brooks was officially a viral sensation. Logan couldn't help it. He laughed, a low, rumbling sound that caught him off guard. Claire's face was beet red, her dress ruined, and Zara stood there like she'd just won an Oscar. "You're insane," he said, stepping away from Claire. "Damn right," Zara replied, brushing past him. "Enjoy your dance, Logan." Claire grabbed his arm, her nails digging in. "Do something," she hissed. "She can't get away with this." Logan shook her off, his patience gone. "Clean yourself up, Claire. You started this shit." As Claire stormed off, Logan caught sight of his sister Sophia watching from the sidelines. Her dark eyes glittered with something dangerous, and she was already texting, probably plotting with Claire. Great, Logan thought. More fucking drama. He needed air. The ballroom felt suffocating, the whispers and stares closing in. He pushed through the crowd, heading for the terrace. To his surprise, Zara was already there, leaning against the railing, her gown shimmering under the city lights. Manhattan sprawled below a glittering maze of ambition and secrets. "Running away already?" Zara asked, not turning around. Her voice was lighter now, almost playful. Logan joined her at the railing, keeping a safe distance. Needed a break from the circus. "You happy with yourself back there?" Zara laughed, the sound soft and genuine. "Oh, come on." She had it coming. You saw that smug look on her face. He couldn't argue with that. Claire had always been a master at stirring shit, and Zara had shut her down in spectacular fashion. "Your trouble," he said, but there was no venom in his voice. "Takes one to know one." Zara shot back, finally looking at him. Her eyes softened just for a moment, and Logan felt a tug in his chest. She wasn't just a schemer. There was something deeper, something he wanted to understand. They stood in silence, the city humming below. Zara's fingers brushed the railing, and Logan noticed a faint scar on her wrist, barely visible under the moonlight. "What's that?" he asked, nodding toward it. Her hand tensed, but she didn't pull away. "Old story," she said, her voice quieter. "From when my mom's company went under. Things got rough." Logan frowned. He'd heard bits and pieces about Eleanor Brooks, a once powerful entrepreneur who'd lost everything. He hadn't cared before, but now, with Zara standing there, he wanted to know more. What happened? Zara hesitated, then shrugged. "Life happened. People like your dad happened." She turned to face him, her expression unreadable. "You're not what I thought, Logan. But don't think that means I trust you." He smirked, leaning closer. "Good. I don't trust you either." Their faces were inches apart, the air between them electric. Logan's hand brushed hers on the railing, and for a split second, he thought about closing the gap. But before he could, Sophia's voice cut through the moment like a knife. "There you are," she called, strutting onto the terrace. "Everyone's talking about your little stunt, Zara. Classy." Zara stepped back, her smile returning. "Jealous, Sophia? Don't worry, I'll save some spotlight for you." Sophia's eyes narrowed, but she didn't take the bait. "Enjoy your moment," she said, her voice dripping with venom. "It won't last." As Sophia sauntered off, Logan turned to Zara. "She's not wrong. You're making enemies." Zara shrugged, unfazed. "Good. Means I'm doing something right." Back inside, the gala was winding down, but the drama was just beginning. Sophia cornered Claire in the ladies' room, her voice low and urgent. "We need to take her down," Sophia said, checking her reflection in the mirror. "She's making Logan look like a fool." Claire dabbed at her stained dress, her face twisted with rage. "Oh, I'm in. That bitch is going to regret crossing me." They hatched a plan, a fake photo of Zara cozying up to Marcus leaked to the tabloids. If Logan thought his fiancée was cheating, he'd lose it. And if the public believed Zara was a gold digger, her little viral moment would crash and burn. Meanwhile, Zara slipped out of the Galamarcus at her side. "You're trending on X," he said, showing her his phone. "They're calling you the Punch Queen." Zara laughed, but her mind was already racing. Claire and Sophia were plotting, she could feel it, and Logan. He was a wild card one she wasn't sure she could handle. But one thing was certain, this game was far from over. Logan Reed's penthouse office at Reed Corporation was a shrine to power. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed the Manhattan skyline, the city's lights glinting like a sea of diamonds. His mahogany desk was cluttered with contracts, a half-empty bottle of bourbon, and a phone buzzing with notifications. Logan ignored it all, his eyes fixed on the X post glowing on his laptop screen. The photo was grainy, but unmistakable. Zara Brooks, his fake fiancée, leaning close to Marcus Carter, that smug journalist, at some dive bar. Their heads were bent together, her hand on his arm, and the caption read, "Punch Queen, or Gold Digger, Zara Brooks, cozying up with her side piece." Reed wedding drama. Logan's jaw clenched so hard it hurt. The post had been up for less than an hour, but it was already viral, racking up thousands of retweets and comments. "She's playing me," he thought, his fingers curling into a fist. He'd known Zara was trouble hell. She'd humiliated his family with that contract stunt and turned Claire into a laughingstock at the gala. But this was personal. If she thought she could screw around behind his back and make him look like a fool, she was about to learn a lesson. He slammed his laptop shut and grabbed his phone, dialing Zara's number. It went straight to voicemail. "Fucking typical," he muttered, tossing the phone onto the desk. He poured another shot of bourbon, the burn doing nothing to calm the storm in his chest. He wasn't jealous, not exactly. This marriage was a sham, a business deal to save his family's company. But the idea of Zara with someone else, especially that cocky bastard Marcus, made his blood boil. The office door swung open, and Sophia sauntered in her designer heels, clicking against the hardwood floor. Her dark hair was pulled into a sleek ponytail, and her smirk was sharper than a knife. "Rough night, big brother?" she asked, dropping into a leather chair. "I saw the X post. Your fiancé's making quite the splash." "Shut up, Sophia," Logan snapped, draining his glass. "You're enjoying this too much." She laughed, crossing her legs. "Oh, come on. It's hilarious. You thought you could control her, but Zara's out here living her best life. Maybe she's not the ditz you thought." Logan's eyes narrowed. "You know something about this, don't you?" Sophia shrugged, examining her nails. "I might have heard Claire whispering to a few tabloid rats. But let's be real. Logan, you didn't exactly vet your bride. For all you know, she's been banging that journalist the whole time." The words hit like a punch. Logan stood his chair, scraping against the floor. "Get out," he said, his voice low and dangerous. "I don't need your shit right now." Sophia raised her hands in mock surrender. "Fine, fine. But if I were you, I'd deal with Zara before this blows up any further." She paused at the door, her smile wicked. "Unless you're okay with being the laughingstock of Manhattan." Logan waited until she was gone before grabbing his phone again. He didn't care if it was 2 in the morning. Zara was going to answer for this. Across town, Zara Brooks sat in a cramped coffee shop in Brooklyn, the kind of place that smelled like burnt espresso and broken dreams. The neon sign outside flickered, casting a red glow across the chipped formica table. Marcus sat across from her, his laptop open, his face grim. He'd been digging into Victor's dealings for weeks, and what he'd found was bad, really bad. "Zara, this is bigger than we thought," Marcus said, pushing his glasses up his nose. His dreads were tied back and his usual grin was nowhere in sight. "Victor's not just a sleaze. He's been laundering money through your mom's old company for years. And get this, Henry Reed was in on it. They tanked Eleanor's business to cover their tracks. Zara's stomach twisted. She'd always known Victor was a snake, but hearing it laid out like this made her want to scream. Her mother Eleanor had been a titan once, building a tech empire from nothing. But after a series of bad investments orchestrated by Victor and the Reeds, she'd lost everything. Now Eleanor was a shadow of herself living under Victor's thumb. Zara had agreed to this fake marriage to protect her mom, but every new piece of dirt Marcus uncovered made her blood run cold. "Fuck," Zara whispered, rubbing her temples. "How solid is your evidence?" "Solid enough to bury them," Marcus said, sliding a USB drive across the table. "Bank records, emails, even a recorded call between Victor and Henry. But Zara, this is dangerous. If Victor finds out, I've got this." "He won't," Zara said, her voice firm. She slipped the USB into her purse, her fingers trembling slightly. "You've done enough, Marcus. I'll take it from here." Marcus leaned back, his eyes searching her face. "You sure about this? Logan's not exactly your biggest fan after that gala stunt. And if he's tied to his dad's shit, you're walking into a lion's den." Zara forced a smile. "Good thing I'm not afraid of lions." Her phone buzzed Logan's name, flashing on the screen. She ignored it, but Marcus raised an eyebrow. "Trouble in paradise. More like trouble in hell," Zara muttered. "He's probably pissed about something stupid." As if on cue, the door to the coffee shop burst open, and Logan stormed in his coat, flapping like a damn superhero cape. His green eyes locked on Zara, and the fury in them made her heart skip a beat. "We need to talk," he growled, ignoring Marcus completely. Zara leaned back in her chair, crossing her arms. "Wow, you tracked me down at a shitty coffee shop. That's some stalker-level dedication, Reed." Logan slammed his hands on the table, making the mugs rattle. "Cut the crap, Zara. You think you can screw around with this guy and humiliate me on X? I'm not your fucking doormat." Marcus stood, his voice calm but firm. "Back off, man. You're out of line." Logan rounded on him, his fists clenched. "Stay out of this, asshole. This is between me and my fiancé." Zara shot to her feet, stepping between them. "Enough," she snapped, her voice cutting through the tension. "Logan, you want to throw a tantrum? Fine. But don't come in here acting like you own me. And Marcus, sit your ass down." Marcus hesitated, then sank back into his chair, muttering something about rich pricks. Logan didn't move, his chest heaving, his eyes boring into Zara's. "Explain the photo," he said, his voice low and dangerous. "You and him all cozy at some bar. It's all over X." Zara's blood ran cold. She hadn't been at any bar with Marcus, not recently anyway, but she knew who was behind this. Claire and Sophia, those conniving bitches, were playing dirty. "You're seriously buying that tabloid crap," she said, her voice dripping with disdain. "You're dumber than I thought. Don't play games with me." Logan shot back. "I saw the picture. You're making me look like a goddamn idiot." Zara stepped closer, her face inches from his. "You want to talk about idiots? You're the one who believed a fake photo without asking me. Jealous much, rich boy?" Logan's face flushed, and for a moment she thought he might explode. But instead he took a step back, running a hand through his hair. "You're unbelievable," he muttered. "This isn't over." He stormed out the door, slamming behind him. Zara sank into her chair, her heart pounding. Marcus let out a low whistle. "Damn, girl. You sure know how to pick 'em." "Shut up," Zara said, but there was no heat in her voice. She rubbed her eyes, exhaustion creeping in. "This is getting out of hand." Marcus reached across the table, squeezing her hand. "You okay?" "That dude's intense." Zara nodded, but her mind was racing. Logan's jealousy was a problem, but it wasn't the worst one. If Claire and Sophia were leaking fake photos, they were escalating. And if Victor caught wind of Marcus's investigation. The next night, Zara met Marcus at his tiny apartment in Bed-Stuy, a cluttered space filled with books, vinyl records, and half-dead plants. She'd barely slept, her mind churning with thoughts of Logan Victor and the USB drive burning a hole in her purse. Marcus was pacing, his phone pressed to his ear, his voice tight. "Zara." "I got a problem," he said, hanging up. "Someone's been tailing me. I saw the same black SUV outside my place twice today. I think Victor's on to me." Zara's stomach dropped. "Shit. You need to lay low. Take a trip, get out of the city." Marcus shook his head. "I'm not running. We're too close. If we can get this to the right people." He didn't finish. The door buzzer screamed a harsh, insistent sound. Marcus froze his eyes, darting to the window. Zara grabbed his arm, her voice low. "Don't answer it." But it was too late. The door burst open, and two men in dark jackets stormed in their faces, hidden behind ski masks. Zara screamed, shoving Marcus behind her, but one of the men grabbed her, pinning her arms. The other lunged at Marcus, landing a punch that sent him crashing into a bookshelf. "Stop!" Zara yelled, struggling against her captor. "What the hell do you want?" The man holding her leaned close, his breath hot against her ear. "Tell your boyfriend to stop digging or he's dead." They were gone as fast as they'd come, leaving Zara and Marcus sprawled on the floor. Marcus groaned, blood trickling from his lip. Zara crawled to him, her hands shaking as she helped him sit up. "Oh my God, are you okay?" "I've been better," Marcus muttered, wincing. "Victor's playing hardball." Zara's eyes filled with tears, a rare crack in her armor. She hugged Marcus tightly, her voice breaking. "I'm so sorry. This is my fault. I dragged you into this." Marcus hugged her back, his voice soft. "Hey, don't do that. We're in this together. Always." They sat there, the apartment, silent, except for the hum of the city outside. Zara's mind raced. Victor was closing in, and Logan, damn him, was making everything worse. She'd built her life on control, on staying one step ahead. But now, with Marcus bleeding and Logan's accusations ringing in her ears, she felt like she was losing her grip. Across town, Logan sat in his car, parked outside Zara's brownstone. He'd followed her after their fight, driven by a mix of anger and something he refused to name. He'd seen her rush into Marcus's apartment, seen the way she'd hugged him through the window. His hands tightened on the steering wheel, his knuckles white. But then he'd heard her voice, faint but unmistakable, cracking with pain. "This is my fault." Logan's anger faltered. He didn't know what was going on, but the Zara he'd seen tonight wasn't the cold, calculating woman who'd humiliated his family. She was scared, vulnerable, and it hit him harder than he expected. He started the engine, his mind a mess. Zara was hiding something big, and he was going to find out what. The Hamptons were a different kind of jungle, less concrete, more cash. Sprawling mansions lined the coastline, their manicured lawns and infinity pools screaming old money. Logan Reed's Bentley roared down Montauk Highway, the ocean breeze whipping through the open windows. He gripped the wheel, his jaw tight, trying to ignore the woman in the passenger seat. Zara Brooks looked annoyingly comfortable, her sunglasses perched on her nose, her crimson sundress fluttering in the wind. They were headed to a weekend retreat at the Reed family's beach estate, a last-minute trip orchestrated by Victor to keep them under his thumb. Logan didn't trust it, and judging by Zara's silence, neither did she. "Nice car," Zara said, breaking the tension. Compensating for something, Logan snorted, keeping his eyes on the road. "Keep talking, princess. Maybe I'll leave your ass on the side of the highway." Zara laughed, a low, throaty sound that sent a jolt through him. "You'd miss me too much. Who else is going to keep you on your toes?" He didn't respond, but the corner of his mouth twitched. Ever since their blowout at that shitty coffee shop, he couldn't shake the image of her with Marcus, her arms around him, her voice breaking. Logan wasn't an idiot. He knew the X photo was probably fake, a stunt pulled by Claire and Sophia. But the way Zara protected Marcus, the way she shut Logan out, made him feel like he was losing a game he didn't even want to play. Zara, meanwhile, was fighting her own battles. Marcus was still recovering from the attack holed up in a safe house with a friend in Jersey. She'd given him strict orders to stay off the grid, but the guilt gnawed at her. Victor's men had come for him because of her, because of the evidence he'd dug up. And now, stuck in a car with Logan, the last person she trusted, she felt like she was walking a tightrope. One wrong move, and everything could collapse. The Reed estate loomed ahead, a white-columned monstrosity that looked like it belonged in a Gatsby novel. The driveway was lined with palms, and the Atlantic crashed against the shore beyond the gardens. Logan parked, killing the engine. "Ground rules," he said, turning to Zara. "Don't start any shit with my family. And stay away from anything that can go viral." Zara slid her sunglasses down, peering at him over the rims. "No promises, rich boy, but I'll try not to ruin your vibe." He rolled his eyes, but there was a spark in her gaze that made his pulse kick up. "You're impossible," he muttered, climbing out of the car. The retreat was a farce, a chance for Victor and Henry to parade Logan and Zara as the perfect couple while they schemed behind closed doors. The house was packed with Reed allies, CEOs, politicians, and a few influencers snapping selfies for X. Zara played her part, smiling for the cameras, her arm looped through Logan's like they were madly in love. But every time their eyes met, there was a challenge, a dare to see who'd break first. Dinner was a tense affair, served in a dining room with ocean views, and enough silverware to confuse a royal. Logan sat at one end of the table, Zara at his side, while Henry and Victor held court. Sophia was there too, her smirk sharper than ever, and Claire, because of course she'd wormed her way in, kept shooting Zara looks that could kill. "So Zara," Claire said, twirling her wine glass, "how's your little journalist friend? I hear he's been indisposed." Zara's fork paused mid-air, but her smile didn't falter. "Marcus. He's fine. Thanks for your concern, Barbie. You should worry about your own friends, like, say, whoever's leaking fake photos to the tabloids." Claire's face flushed, but before she could respond, a storm rolled in the sky, darkening as thunder rumbled. The lights flickered and Henry cleared his throat. "Perhaps we should move to the lounge," he said, his voice tight. "This weather's getting nasty." The group relocated, but the storm worsened, rain lashing the windows and wind howling like a banshee. By midnight, the power was out, and the guests were sent to their rooms. Logan and Zara, stuck sharing a suite to keep up appearances, found themselves alone in a candlelit bedroom, the ocean roaring outside. "Great," Logan muttered, tossing his jacket onto a chair. "Trapped with you in a fucking blackout. Just what I needed." Zara kicked off her heels, flopping onto the king-sized bed. "Could be worse. You could be stuck with Claire. She'd probably cry about her ruined blowout." Logan chuckled despite himself loosening his tie. He grabbed a bottle of scotch from the minibar and poured 2 glasses, handing one to Zara. "Truce for one night?" he asked, raising his glass. She eyed him warily, then clinked her glass against his. "Truce, but don't get any ideas, Reed." They drank in silence, the candles casting shadows across the room. The storm raged on, but inside the tension was shifting. Logan sank into an armchair, watching Zara as she sipped her scotch. Her dress had ridden up slightly, revealing a sliver of thigh, and he forced himself to look away. "You gonna tell me what's going on with you and Marcus?" he asked, his voice softer now. "No bullshit." Zara sighed, setting a glass down. "Marcus is my best friend. He's helping me with something. That's all you need to know. Helping you with what." Logan pressed, leaning forward. "You're not just here for the money, Zara. I saw you at his place. You were scared." Her eyes flashed, but there was a flicker of vulnerability beneath the fire. You don't know shit about me, Logan, so stop pretending you care. He stood, closing the distance between them. Maybe I do care. Ever think of that? Zara laughed, but it was shaky. You care about someone other than yourself. That's a good one. Logan's temper flared, but he caught himself. Instead of snapping back, he sat beside her on the bed, his voice low. I'm not the asshole you think I am. Yeah, I've got my shit, but I'm not my father. So talk to me. What's got you so spooked? Zara stared at him, her guard wavering. The candles flickered, throwing her face into soft relief, and for a moment she looked younger, less like the woman who'd turned his world upside down. Fine, she said finally. You want the truth? I'm only in this fake-ass marriage to protect my mom. Victor's been bleeding her dry for years and your dad helped him do it. I'm here to take them down. Logan's chest tightened. He'd suspected his father's hands weren't clean, but hearing it from Zara hit hard. Why didn't you just tell me? She laughed bitterly. Tell you the guy who called me a gold digger the first day we met. Yeah, right. He winced, running a hand through his hair. Fair point. But I'm not him, Zara. I'm not Victor, and I'm not my dad. She looked at him, really looked at him, and something shifted. You want to know something stupid? She said, her voice barely above a whisper. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a painter. Not this. Whatever I am now. But life doesn't give a shit about your dreams. Logan's throat tightened. He'd never told anyone, but he'd had the same dream once. I wanted to be an artist too, he admitted, before my dad decided I was better suited to boardrooms than canvases. Zara's eyes widened, and for the first time she smiled, not her usual smirk, but something real. Well, damn. Who knew we had something in common? The moment stretched the storm outside, fading to a dull roar. Logan reached for his glass, but his hand slipped, knocking it over. Scotch splashed across his shirt, and Zara burst out laughing. You're a walking disaster, Reed, she said, grabbing a napkin. How do you even run a company? Shut up, Logan growled, but he was grinning. He snatched the napkin from her, their fingers brushing. The air crackled, and suddenly the room felt too small. Zara's laughter faded, her eyes locking on his. You're trouble, you know that, says the woman who threw punch on my ex. Logan shot back, but his voice was husky now. She leaned closer, her breath warm against his cheek. You didn't seem to mind. Fuck it, Logan muttered, and then he was kissing her hard and desperate, like he'd been starving for it. Zara kissed him back, her hands fisting in his shirt, pulling him closer. The candles flickered as they fell back onto the bed, the storm outside drowning out everything but the heat between them. Clothes hit the floor, a tangle of silk and cotton. Logan's hands roamed her skin, memorizing every curve, every scar. Zara's nails dug into his back, her gasps filling the air. It was messy, raw, a collision of anger and need. When it was over, they lay tangled in the sheets, their breaths ragged, the candles burned low. Zara was the first to speak, her voice soft. This doesn't change anything, you know. Logan propped himself on an elbow, looking down at her. Bullshit. It changes everything. She didn't argue, but her eyes were guarded again. Logan, there's something you need to know, she said, sitting up. I've got a plan to take down Victor and your dad. Marcus has evidence, bank records, emails, all of it. But if you're not with me, you're against me. Logan's stomach dropped. He'd known she was playing a game, but this was war. And she was asking him to betray his family. You're asking me to burn my whole life down, he said, his voice rough. I'm asking you to do what's right, Zara replied, her eyes fierce. Your call, Reed. He stared at her, his mind a mess. He'd just crossed a line with her, let her in a way he hadn't with anyone. But this was too much. He rolled out of bed, grabbing his shirt. "I need to think," he said, his voice clipped. Zara watched him go, her heart sinking. "Don't take too long," she called after him. "The clock's ticking." Logan stepped into the hall, the storm still raging outside. He leaned against the wall, his head spinning. Zara was a hurricane tearing through everything he thought he knew. And the worst part, he wasn't sure he wanted to stop her. The boardroom at Reed Corporation was a battlefield of glass and steel. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed the Manhattan skyline, the city's jagged edges glinting under a gray, overcast sky. The long mahogany table was packed with suits, shareholders, executives, and a few vultures from the press, their pens poised like daggers. Logan Reed stood at the head of the table, his Armani suit crisp, his green eyes hard as stone. He'd barely slept in days, his mind churning with Zara's words from the Hamptons. "If you're not with me, you're against me." He'd wanted to believe her, to trust the fire in her eyes, but the doubts kept creeping in. She was a schemer, a liar, and now, thanks to Sophia and Claire, he had proof she was playing him for a fool. Zara sat across the room, her posture perfect, her black blazer and pencil skirt giving her the air of a corporate assassin. Her dark curls were pulled into a sleek bun, and her brown eyes met Logan's with a cool defiance that made his chest tighten. They hadn't spoken since that night in the Hamptons, since he'd walked out after their heated encounter. The memory of her skin, her gasps, still haunted him, but so did her confession. She was planning to take down his father, his family, his entire world. And Logan wasn't sure he could let her. Henry Reed cleared his throat, his silver hair gleaming under the fluorescent lights. "Let's begin," he said, his voice booming. "Today, we address the future of Reed Corporation and the role of my son's fiancée, Zara Brooks." The room buzzed with whispers. Zara's viral moment at the gala had made her a tabloid darling, but it had also painted a target on her back. Sophia, seated near Claire, smirked, her phone already open to X, where the latest post was gaining traction. Logan's jaw clenched as he caught sight of it. A doctored photo of Zara and Marcus, this time in a compromising pose with the caption, "Zara Brooks, loyal fiancé or cheating gold digger hat Reed scandal." Logan's hands curled into fists. He'd told himself the photo was fake, but seeing it again blown up on Sophia's screen lit a fuse in him. He stood, his voice cutting through the room like a blade. "Before we continue, I have something to say." He turned to Zara, his eyes locking on hers. "Zara Brooks is a fraud. She's been playing us all, screwing around with her journalist boyfriend while pretending to be my fiancé. I won't let her destroy this company." The room erupted. Shareholders gasped, reporters scribbled furiously, and Sophia's smirk widened. Zara's face didn't change, but her eyes flashed with a fury that made Logan's stomach twist. She stood, her voice steady despite the chaos. "That's a bold accusation, Logan. Got any proof? Or are you just parroting your sister's bullshit?" Logan flinched, but didn't back down. He nodded to Sophia, who held up her phone, the photo glaring for all to see. "This proof enough," he said, his voice cold. "You've been sneaking around with Marcus Carter, making me look like a goddamn idiot." Zara laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. "You're unbelievable. You think that fake-ass photo means anything? You never trusted me, Logan. That's your fucking problem." The shareholders murmured, some nodding in agreement, others shaking their heads. Henry banged his gavel, shouting for order, but the damage was done. Zara grabbed her purse and stormed out, her heels clicking like gunfire. Logan watched her go, a hollow ache spreading in his chest. He'd wanted to hurt her, to take back control, but now he felt like the one who'd lost. Zara's hands shook as she hailed a cab outside the Reed Tower, the city blurring around her. She'd known Logan was a wild card, but this publicly humiliating her siding with Sophia and Claire was a betrayal she hadn't seen coming. Her phone buzzed with notifications. X was exploding with the news hashtags like "Had Zara cheats" trending. She silenced it, her mind racing. Marcus was still in hiding the evidence against Victor, and Henry locked away. She couldn't let Logan's stunt derail her. Not now. She directed the cabbie to a hospital in Brooklyn where Marcus had been moved after another scare. The attack at his apartment had left him with a concussion and a busted rib, and Zara's guilt was a constant weight. She slipped into his room, the sterile smell of antiseptic hitting her like a slap. Marcus was propped up in bed, his face bruised, but his grin intact. "Damn girl," he said, his voice hoarse. "You look like you just went 10 rounds with a tabloid." Zara forced a smile, sinking into the chair beside him. "More like 10 rounds with Logan Reed. He just threw me under the bus at a shareholder meeting. Called me a cheating gold digger in front of everyone." Marcus whistled, wincing as he shifted. "Ouch. That's cold. You okay?" "No," Zara admitted, her voice cracking. I thought he was different. But he's just like his dad." Marcus reached for her hand, his grip weak, but steady. "You're stronger than this, Zara. You've been through worse. Remember when we were kids sneaking into that abandoned warehouse to paint murals? You weren't scared then, and you shouldn't be now." Zara's eyes stung, but she blinked the tears away. "I dragged you into this, Marcus. You're in this hospital bed because of me." "Bullshit," Marcus said, his voice firm. "I chose to help you, and I'd do it again. We're family." She squeezed his hand, her heart aching. But before she could respond, her phone rang an unknown number. She answered, her voice sharp. "Who is this?" A low, gravelly voice came through. "Tell Carter to stop digging, or next time he won't wake up." The line went dead. Zara's blood ran cold. She looked at Marcus, her voice trembling. "Victor knows. He's coming for you." Marcus cursed, struggling to sit up. "We need to move the evidence." "It's on a server, but if they find it, I'll handle it," Zara said, standing. "You stay here. Don't do anything stupid." But as she left the hospital, her mind was screaming. Logan's betrayal had shaken her, but Victor's threat was a whole new level of danger. She needed to act fast, but the one person she'd started to trust had just stabbed her in the back. Logan was drowning in bourbon and regret. He sat in his penthouse, the city lights mocking him through the windows. The shareholder meeting had been a disaster. Zara's exit had turned the narrative against him, with ex-posts now calling him a jealous tyrant. Worse, Claire had cornered him after her perfume cloying as she whispered, "You did the right thing, darling. She's not worth your time." He'd pushed her away, his patience gone. "Get the hell out, Claire. I'm done with your games." She'd left, but not before planting a seed. If Zara's so innocent, why is she hiding things from you? Ask yourself that, Logan. Now alone, Logan couldn't shake the question. Zara had admitted to a plan against his father, but was she really cheating with Marcus? The photo was fake. He was sure of it now. But the way she protected Marcus, the secrets she kept, made him doubt everything. He poured another drink, but before he could down it, his phone buzzed. It was James, his lawyer and oldest friend. "Logan, you need to see this," James said, his voice urgent. "I'm sending you a file. It's from a source, someone close to Zara." Logan opened the email, his heart pounding. The file was a bombshell bank records emails and a recorded call between Henry Reed and Victor, detailing how they'd orchestrated the collapse of Eleanor Brooks' company years ago. Logan's hands shook as he listened to his father's voice, cold and calculating. "Eleanor's too smart for her own good. We'll bankrupt her and make it look like her fault." Logan dropped the phone, his world tilting. Zara had been telling the truth. His father was a monster, and Logan had just sided with him against the one person trying to make things right. "Fuck," he whispered, his voice breaking. He grabbed his keys and drove to the hospital where James had tracked Marcus. If Zara was there, he needed to see her to apologize, to make this right. But when he arrived, he found Marcus alone, hooked up to monitors, his face a mess of bruises. "Where's Zara?" Logan demanded, his voice rough. Marcus glared at him, his voice weak but venomous. "You've got some nerve showing up here after what you did. You broke her, man. She trusted you." Logan's chest tightened. "I fucked up, I know, but I need to find her. She's in danger." Marcus hesitated, then sighed. "Victor's men attacked me. They know I've got evidence proof your dad and Victor ruined Eleanor's life. Zara's out there trying to protect it. If anything happens to her, it's on you." Logan's blood ran cold. He'd been so caught up in his own pride he hadn't seen the bigger picture. Zara wasn't just fighting for herself, she was fighting for her mother, for justice. And he'd thrown it all away. "I'll fix this," Logan said, his voice steady despite the guilt clawing at him. "Where's the evidence?" Marcus studied him, then nodded. "Server in a warehouse in Red Hook. Zara's got the access code. Find her before Victor does." Logan was already moving, but Marcus called after him. "One more thing. If you hurt her again, I'll fucking end you." Zara stood outside the warehouse, the Red Hook waterfront dark and desolate. The USB drive was safe, but the server held the originals, her only leverage against Victor. Her phone was dead, her nerves frayed. She'd cut Logan out, but the sting of his betrayal lingered. She'd let herself feel something for him, and it had cost her. As she punched in the access code, headlights flashed behind her. She spun, her heart racing, but it wasn't Victor's men. It was Logan climbing out of his Bentley, his face pale under the streetlights. "Zara," he said, his voice raw. "I'm sorry. I was wrong about everything." She backed away, her hands trembling. "Save it, Logan. You made your choice." "I know about my dad," he said, stepping closer. "I know what he did to your mom. I'm with you, Zara. Let me help." She stared at him, torn between rage and hope. The warehouse door beeped, granting access, but before she could decide, a black SUV screeched to a stop. Victor's men were here, and time was up. The Red Hook warehouse was a maze of shadows, its rusted beams and cracked concrete reeking of oil and neglect. Zara Brooks stood frozen in the open doorway, the access panel glowing green behind her as the black SUV's headlights pinned her like a spotlight. Her heart pounded, the USB drive in her pocket, feeling heavier than ever. Logan Reed was steps away, his face pale under the streetlights, his green eyes pleading. "I'm with you, Zara," he'd said, but the screech of tires drowned out any chance to respond. Victor's men were here, and the game was up. "Get behind me," Logan snapped, stepping in front of her. His voice was steady, but his hands were clenched, ready for a fight. Zara's instinct was to shove him aside. She didn't need saving, but the sight of 3 men climbing out of the SUV, their faces hard and their fists wrapped in knuckle dusters, made her hesitate. These weren't the hired thugs from Marcus's apartment. These guys meant business. Zara Brooks, the leader, said, his voice a low growl. "Hand over the drive, or we start breaking things. Starting with your fiancé." Zara's blood ran cold, but she forced a smirk. "You're late to the party, asshole. The drive's already gone." The leader's eyes narrowed, but before he could move, Logan lunged, tackling him to the ground. The other 2 men charged, and chaos erupted. Zara dove for cover behind a stack of crates, her hands shaking as she pulled out her phone. No signal. "Fuck," she whispered, peering around the edge. Logan was holding his own, landing a solid punch to one thug's jaw, but he was outnumbered. Blood trickled from a cut on his lip, and his suit was torn. Zara's mind raced. The server inside held the evidence, bank records, emails, proof that Henry Reed and Victor had ruined her mother's life. If Victor's men got it, everything she'd fought for would be gone. She glanced at Logan, still fighting, and made a split-second decision. She darted into the warehouse, her heels slipping on the concrete as she raced to the server room. The air inside was stale, the hum of machinery barely audible over the grunts and curses outside. Zara found the server, a blinking tower of wires and lights, and punched in the access code Marcus had given her. The screen lit up files downloading to a backup drive she'd hidden in her purse. "Come on, come on," she muttered, her heart in her throat. A crash echoed behind her, and Logan staggered in one arm, braced against the wall. His face was a mess, bruised, bloody, but his eyes burned with determination. "You okay?" he gasped, wiping blood from his mouth. Zara nodded, her fingers flying over the keyboard. "Almost done." "Where are they?" "Out cold," Logan said, but his voice was strained. "Won't stay that way long." The download finished with a beep, and Zara yanked the drive free. "Let's go," she said, grabbing his arm. They stumbled out of the warehouse, the SUV's headlights still blazing. The thugs were stirring, groaning on the ground, but Zara and Logan didn't stop. They piled into his Bentley, the engine roaring as he floored it, leaving Red Hook in a cloud of dust. 2 days later, the Reed Corporation boardroom was a powder keg. Shareholders packed the room, their faces a mix of curiosity and dread. Reporters lined the walls, cameras flashing X, already buzzing with speculation. Zara stood at the front, her black power suit sharp as a blade, the backup drive burning a hole in her pocket. Logan was beside her, his bruises hidden under a fresh suit, his expression unreadable. They'd barely spoken since the warehouse, but his presence was a silent promise he was all in. Henry Reed sat at the head of the table, his silver hair gleaming, his smile as cold as ever. Victor was next to him, his eyes darting to Zara like a predator sizing up prey. Sophia and Claire were in the crowd, their smirks fading as they sensed the shift in the room. Marcus, still battered but defiant, sat in the back, a laptop open in front of him. He'd insisted on being here despite Zara's protests. Henry cleared his throat, his voice booming. "Let's address the rumors about my son's engagement. Zara Brooks has caused nothing but chaos, and I move to dissolve this arrangement immediately." The shareholders murmured, but Zara stepped forward, her voice cutting through the noise. "Not so fast, Henry. I've got something you need to see." She plugged the drive into a projector, and the screen lit up with damning evidence, bank records showing illegal transfers, emails between Henry and Victor, plotting Eleanor Brooks's downfall, and the recorded call that sealed their guilt. The room exploded. Shareholders shouted, reporters scrambled, and Henry's face went ashen. Victor lunged for the projector, but Logan grabbed his arm, twisting it back. "Sit down, you piece of shit!" Logan growled, his voice low and dangerous. Zara kept her cool, her eyes locked on Henry. "You and Victor bankrupted my mother's company to cover your crimes. You thought you could bury her, but you underestimated me. This evidence is already with the feds. You're done." Henry stammered, his composure crumbling. "This is preposterous, fabricated lies. Save it." Logan cut in, his voice like steel. He turned to the room, his gaze steady. "I was wrong about Zara. She's not the enemy my father is. I stand with her." The shareholders erupted again, some calling for Henry's resignation, others demanding Victor's arrest. Sophia's face was a mask of fury, and Claire slipped out her tail between her legs. Zara met Logan's eyes, a flicker of gratitude passing between them. They'd won for now. That night, Zara stood on the balcony of Logan's penthouse, the Manhattan skyline, glittering like a promise. The feds had raided Victor's office, and Henry was facing charges. Eleanor's company was being rebuilt with Zara at the helm. It should have felt like victory, but the weight of the past few weeks lingered. She'd fought so hard, lost so much, And Logan, damn him, was still a complication she didn't know how to solve. He joined her, a glass of bourbon in hand, his bruises fading but still visible. "You did it," he said, his voice soft. "You took them down." "We did it," Zara corrected, turning to face him. "I didn't expect you to choose me over your family." Logan set his glass down, stepping closer. "I was a fucking asshole, Zara. I let my pride blind me, let Sophia and Claire play me. But you're the realest thing I've ever known." Her heart skipped, but she kept her guard up. "Don't get sappy on me, Reed. We've still got work to do." He smiled, a rare, genuine smile that made her stomach flip. "I know, but first..." He pulled a small canvas from behind his back, a painting of the Manhattan skyline at dusk, vibrant and raw. "I made this for you. Figured it's time I start being the guy I wanted to be." Zara's breath caught. She took the canvas, her fingers tracing the brushstrokes. "You're full of surprises," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Logan closed the distance, his hand cupping her face. "I'm all in, Zara. For you, for us. If you'll have me." She looked into his eyes, seeing the man beneath the arrogance, the one who'd fought for her, bled for her. "Took you long enough, dumbass," she said. And then she kissed him slow and deep, the city humming below. The next morning, Zara met Marcus at a coffee shop in Brooklyn, the same one where Logan had confronted them weeks ago. Marcus was healing his grin back in full force. "You and Logan, huh?" he said, sipping his espresso. "Never thought I'd see the day." Zara rolled her eyes, but her smile betrayed her. "Yeah, well, he's not as bad as he seems." Marcus leaned back, his expression turning serious. "There's something you need to know, Zara. I didn't tell you before because I didn't want to mess things up, but..." He slid a document across the table, his eyes wary. "You signed a deal with the Carters-Reed's biggest rivals before the engagement. A backup plan to protect your mom if the marriage fell through." Zara's stomach dropped. She'd forgotten about the deal, a desperate move made months ago when she didn't trust Logan at all. "Marcus, It's okay," he said, holding up a hand. "I get why you did it. But Logan doesn't know. And if he finds out..." Zara's mind raced. The Carters were vultures, waiting to swoop in if Reed Corporation faltered. Her deal with them was a betrayal, even if she'd never acted on it. She stood, her hands shaking. "I need to tell him." Logan was in his office when Zara arrived, the painting he'd given her now hanging on the wall. He looked up, his smile fading as he saw her face. "What's wrong?" Zara took a deep breath, her heart pounding. "I fucked up, Logan. Before we got engaged, I signed a deal with the Carters, a safety net for my mom. I never used it, but I should have told you." Logan's face went still, his eyes darkening. "You went behind my back, with my family's enemies. I didn't know I'd fall for your sorry ass," Zara said, her voice breaking. "I was protecting my mom. I'm sorry." He stood pacing to the window, his hands in his pockets. The silence was deafening, and Zara braced for the worst. But then he turned, his expression softer. "You're a pain in the ass. You know that," he said, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "But I get it. We've both made mistakes. I'm not walking away from this from us." Zara's eyes stung relief, flooding her. She crossed the room, wrapping her arms around him. "You're stuck with me now, Reed." "Good," he murmured, kissing her forehead. "Let's rebuild this shit together." Weeks later, Zara and Logan stood on the penthouse balcony, the city sprawling before them. Eleanor's company was thriving, and Reed Corporation was under new leadership. Logan's with Zara as a partner. Sophia had slunk off to lick her wounds, and Claire's ex-presence had fizzled out. The future was theirs, a blank canvas waiting to be painted. "Think we can make it work?" Zara asked, leaning against him. Logan grinned, his arm around her. With you, I'm betting on it. They kissed the city lights, a testament to their victory. Love, trust, and forgiveness had carried them through the chaos, and whatever came next, they'd face it together. What the hell just happened? Did that final twist blow your mind? Subscribe to catch more insane stories like this, and drop a comment. Tell me if you'd forgive Zara, or if Logan's too good for her. Let's keep the drama alive.